everyone, and welcome to today's episode. We're going to be talking about Where I Found You by Betsy St. Amant. So, this one is a contemporary romance, and it would also classify as a Southern romance because it's set in Louisiana. It's Christian fiction, and it's also the first book in a new series by Betsy St. Amant called Magnolia Bay. So, why did I want to read this one? Well, I've enjoyed reading the books I've read by Betsy in the past, including Tacos for Two. And when I saw this one, I couldn't resist because it sounded like an intriguing story. So add my usual disclaimer and thank the publisher and also Just Read Tours, who provided an advance reader copy of the book. And my usual disclaimer is that all the opinions that I express in this video are completely my own. So I love this book. I loved it so much that when I finished it, I pre-ordered books 2 and book 3 in the series that are releasing in the summer this year. So I don't normally do that with everything I buy and read. I don't normally buy the second and third book that quickly. So that's how much I love this one. So anyway, let's talk about the book. Where I Found You by Betsy St. Amant is set in a small beach town in coastal Louisiana. And the romance tropes in this one, there's a few of them. There's the enemies to love trope. We also have childhood sweethearts and the reunion with them, which is effectively a second chances romance as well. So the first line in this one is interesting. And it's this: Noah Herbert needed to get back home. He didn't have time to watch paint dry. So, this is where the story opens, and he literally does need to watch paint dry because he's renovating the inn that he inherited from his father. So Noah's 30 years old. He isn't from Magnolia Bay. He lives in Shreveport and works in the oil and gas industry there. And he's taken time away from the contract work he does to renovate the inn, which is called the Blue Pirogue Inn. That he's inherited from his grandfather who passed away 6 months earlier. So at the start of the story, he's in a bit of a financial squeeze because obviously he's not working his day job and he needs money to repair the inn. And he's also trying to get it past the building code and get the tick of approval from the inspector so that he can reopen the inn and have guests coming in and actually start making some money. And once the inn's up and running, he can go back home to Shreveport and get back to his normal life. So he grew up in Magnolia Bay before his parents split. After they split, his mum moved him to Shreveport and he would go back and visit his grandfather. That's his dad's dad, who was in Magnolia Bay, who had owned the inn there. And he spent his teenage summers there and he met Elisa. Now, Elisa and him had a lovely teenage romance, except it got completely ruined by a whole lot of stuff that was out of their control, including their feuding families. So going back a couple of generations, Elisa's family and Noah's family haven't gotten on. And one of the things they've been arguing about is the land where the inn is. So they kind of got caught up in that with the inn. So that introduces us to Elisa. So she's our leading lady in the story. She's also the same age as Noah, so she's 30 years old. She's gone to culinary school, so she's a qualified chef, and she's moved back home to Magnolia Bay, and she's currently the manager of the Magnolia Blossom Cafe. And the cafe, she's very emotionally attached to this cafe. She used to work there with her late mum before her mum passed away. And so she has a great emotional attachment to it. And the lady who owns it, whose name is Mama Delia, she's effectively like Elisa's mother and has taken over that role in her life. So the cafe is very much a central point in town with a lot of quirky characters that visit, and a lot of the story happens around the cafe. And basically, Elisa had a dream when she was younger of owning a restaurant with her mother, but of course her mother passed and all those dreams have been smashed. So she's hanging out at the cafe doing her thing. She knows that Noah's in town, but she's been doing her best to avoid him. So the meet cute happens quite early in the story, and it's an interesting one. So we're at the Magnolia Bay Cafe where Elise is working, and Noah's there because he needs to get the building inspector to tick off the inn so he can reopen. But the kicker is the building inspector is Elise's father, and Elise's father does not personally like Noah going back to a whole lot of stuff that happened years ago. So Noah's turns up at the cafe, is really nervous. And then, of course, he gets the bad news that there's a problem with the inn and he can't get the approval that he needs. And then he has an interaction with Elisa, which is amusing. It's quite funny. It's embarrassing. It's awkward. And it has all those ingredients that you want in a really fun meet cute between your main characters. So we have a lot of problems in this story. I mean, the feuding families just creates a whole lot of backstory drama that's happened in the past that is impacting what's happening in the future. We also have an intriguing puzzle mystery, and this is connected to the inheritance. So the lawyer in town who's dealing with the estate has instructed Noah and Elisa that they need to solve this puzzle to unlock a part of the inheritance that Noah needs. So he's enlisted Elisa's help, which is so much fun because it means that there's forced proximity. So she can no longer avoid him and he can no longer avoid her. And that's what you want to see in an enemies to love romance. You want to see them move from that difficult space to being friends and actually being able to get on. And then you actually believe they have a chance of falling in love. So I loved how that all played out in the story. So both Elisa and Noah have money issues, and the puzzle could help both of them in terms of financing a few things that they need. And there's just so much baggage in this story. There's what went wrong when they were teenagers, there's the family history and all the secrets, and no one quite knows whether what they've been told is actually true or not. So there's a few trust issues that are cropping up, and Elisa in particular has a lot of trust issues that she needs to overcome during the story as well. So the themes of trust and forgiveness are quite prominent in the story. Now, there were so many things I loved about this book. The romance was just wonderful. I loved how it played out. I loved how there was genuine problems and complications and obstacles that they needed to overcome in the story. The town was just delightful. I want to visit Magnolia Bay and I want to visit the Magnolia Blossom Cafe and meet all these charming people. It was just delightful and very southern with the hospitality and the food and all the things that you expect from that. And I absolutely adored Mama Delia. She was a fantastic character, and I just loved the wisdom, particularly that she added to Elisa's life as well. And the puzzle mystery was great and took us on an adventure, which I really enjoyed, and it kept me guessing as well. So, my favorite book quote in this one is this one: "You know, the right man will love you for who you are, not the image you present." And that really summed up another theme in the book, which is looking at authenticity in relationships. And both of the characters had trust issues that they needed to overcome, and they both valued honesty, and they were reluctant to trust until they were sure that they were dealing with someone who was truthful and authentic and honest. And there were some things that had happened that had muddied the waters about what the truth actually is that had to get worked out in the story as well. And as I said, that all goes back to their family and some interesting family members as well. And I'm not going to say any more because I don't want to give away any spoilers. So the faith elements in this one I would call relevant. They were not heavy-handed at all. They were very light in the sense that they just came organically out through the story and were just a natural part of the story, and I really like that. And so the impact of this one on me, I just loved it. I read it quite quickly because I couldn't put it down. And then I pre-ordered books 2 and 3, which is what you do when you love a book so much. And so it had some funny moments. So it had some rom-com elements for sure in this one. And there was also some very poignant moments where the characters were dealing with some pretty hard stuff as well. So I appreciated the balances of light and shade that went along with that. So, in summary, I would recommend this book to readers who like childhood sweethearts trope, and it's so fun when you see the childhood sweethearts reunite. That's one of my favorites. And readers who like second chances, because that's was the whole point of what was going on with Noah and Elisa. They really were having a second chance at seeing if this time if they really could make a relationship work now that they're older and more mature and et cetera, et cetera. If you like feuding families and how that adds lots of complication and family drama to the romance, you'll like this one. It also had lovely coastal beach vibes as well, and I really appreciated visiting coastal Louisiana. It was so fun in the story. And if you like books that are centered around a cafe and have a lot of foodie things, particularly Southern influences, then you'll enjoy this one. And the relevant faith elements were great, and I love those in this. I loved how the faith elements played out in the story. Thanks for joining me today. Does Where I Found You sound like a book that you'd like to read? Have you already read it? What did you think? You can let me know. If you're listening on the podcast, you can send me a text via a link in the show notes. If you're watching on YouTube, you can like the episode and leave a comment at YouTube. And thank you to everyone that leaves comments there. I really appreciate hearing what you think about the books and the episodes. You can also email me via my website at narelleatkins.com. And there's a contact form on my website that you can fill out to contact me. Please subscribe at your favorite podcasting app or at YouTube if you've enjoyed this episode. And that means that you will get notified for future episodes and you won't miss any. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend who you think would like reading Betsy St. Amant's books and enjoys reading contemporary romance with a Southern twist in it as well. And all the books that I've mentioned and the links will be in the show notes. Thanks again for tuning in and see you next time.